Unlock the secrets of emotional resilience with our latest video, The Stoic Guide to Handling Difficult Emotions. Discover practical Stoic techniques that transform how you navigate anger, anxiety, and sadness. Join us on a journey toward emotional mastery where ancient wisdom meets modern challenges. Ready to take control of your emotions? Stay tuned and let Stoicism be your guide. Ever found yourself overwhelmed by emotions so much so that you felt like you were losing control? It's a scenario that's all too familiar to many of us. Our emotions can be powerful, raw, and at times feel like an uncontrollable force. We're all human, after all, and that means we experience a wide spectrum of emotions. From the euphoria of joy to the crushing weight of sadness, the fiery heat of anger to the paralyzing grip of fear. They can surge like a tidal wave, sweeping us off our feet, leaving us feeling helpless and adrift in a sea of intense feelings. These emotions, while a natural part of our human experience, can also be our greatest challenge. They can distort our perspective, cloud our judgment, and if poorly managed, can lead to negative impacts on our lives. Unchecked anger can harm relationships. Unresolved sadness can lead to depression. Uncontrolled anxiety can cause physical health issues. The list goes on, so how do we manage this? How do we navigate through this tumultuous ocean of emotions without losing ourselves in the process? Some may suggest suppressing these feelings, bottling them up until they're out of sight. But this is akin to using a band-aid to mend a broken bone. It might hide the wound, but it does nothing to heal it. Others may advocate for letting these emotions run wild to express them freely without restraint. But this too is flawed. It's like letting a wild horse run rampant. Eventually it may run itself into exhaustion. Or worse, it could cause damage to itself and its surroundings. Neither extreme is beneficial. So, what's the solution? Is there a middle ground? A path that allows us to acknowledge and express our emotions without letting them overpower us? But what if there was a philosophy, a way of life, that could help us navigate these stormy seas of emotion? Enter Stoicism. This ancient philosophy, practiced by some of the greatest minds of antiquity, offers practical and effective techniques to manage our emotions. It encourages emotional intelligence and mental equanimity, enabling us to face life's challenges with grace and resilience. But more on that in the next scene. Stoicism, an ancient Greek philosophy, offers a practical guide for managing our emotions. Let's take a trip back in time to the bustling markets of Athens, where Stoicism took root over 2,000 years ago. Stoicism is a philosophy that was founded by Zeno of Citium, but its principles were further developed by great thinkers such as Seneca, Epictetus, and the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. So what's the crux of Stoicism? At its core, Stoicism teaches us about the dichotomy of control, understanding the difference between what we can and cannot change. It posits that we should focus our energy on things within our control, like our thoughts, actions, and responses, and accept those things we cannot change, like the actions of others or the weather, for instance. This philosophy encourages us to remain detached from external circumstances, understanding that our true power lies within our ability to control our internal reactions. In simpler terms, Stoicism is about finding peace within, regardless of the chaos that may swirl outside. Now, let's talk about some of the key players. Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher, was known for his wisdom on how to navigate life's trials and tribulations with grace. Epictetus, born a slave, became a revered philosopher who emphasized that our reactions are the true source of our emotions. And then there was Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, whose meditations provide us with profound insights into the human condition and our capacity for resilience. Stoic philosophy is not about suppressing emotions, but rather about understanding them, managing them, and turning them into stepping stones, rather than stumbling blocks. It's about developing emotional resilience and cultivating an inner tranquility. And so, dear listeners, we return to our original point. Stoicism isn't a lofty, inaccessible philosophy. It's a practical guide to life, a compass that helps us navigate the turbulent waters of our emotions, steering us towards serenity and understanding. The Stoics believed that our reactions, not external events, create our emotional state. So, how does Stoicism help us manage our emotions? Well, in a nutshell, the Stoics held a robust view that our emotions are, in fact, based on our perceptions and judgments. This may seem a bit abstract, so let's break it down. Imagine you're stuck in a traffic jam. You've got two choices here. First, you can succumb to frustration, letting your blood boil as the minutes tick away. Or you can choose to alter your perception, seeing it as an opportunity to listen to that new audiobook you've been meaning to check out, or simply a chance to take a few deep breaths. Stoics believe that we can't control the traffic, but we can control how we react to it. Our emotional response is not dictated by the traffic jam itself, but rather by our perception of it. If we perceive it as a hindrance, we feel frustrated, but if we perceive it as an opportunity, our frustration can quickly turn into contentment. This is not to say that Stoics were emotionless. Instead, they advocated for the management of emotions through rational thinking and understanding. The aim was not to suppress emotions, but to question them, to understand their origin, and to control their impact on our lives. For instance, if you're feeling angry, instead of lashing out or internalizing that anger, ask yourself, why am I angry? Is it because of an external event, or is it due to my perception of that event? Once you identify the source, you're in a better position to manage that anger productively. Stoicism, therefore, provides us with a blueprint for emotional intelligence. It teaches us to approach our emotions with a sense of curiosity and openness, rather than fear or avoidance. It encourages us to take a step back, to observe, to question, and ultimately to understand. The Stoics taught that by changing our perspective, we can change our emotional response. And in doing so, we can navigate the tumultuous seas of our emotions with a little more grace and a lot more resilience. Let's consider a common emotion many struggle with: anger. We've all been there, haven't we? The clenched fists, the steam practically pouring out of our ears, the almost irresistible urge to lash out. But as the Stoics would remind us, anger is a secondary emotion, a reaction to something else. It might be frustration, hurt, or fear that stokes the fires of our rage. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. Your pulse quickens, your grip on the steering wheel tightens. You feel that familiar surge of anger bubbling up. But wait, what can you do about the traffic? Can you part the sea of cars with sheer will? Unlikely. So why waste energy on something you can't control? That's where Stoic wisdom comes into play. The ancient Stoics believed we can't control what happens to us, only how we respond. They would advise us to take a deep breath, accept the situation, and focus on what we can control, our reactions. Instead of honking your horn in frustration, you could use this time to listen to an audiobook, practice mindful breathing, or simply enjoy the moment of stillness amidst the chaos. Now, this doesn't mean suppressing your anger. No, the Stoics were all about understanding our emotions, not denying them. When anger strikes, acknowledge it, understand its roots, and then ask yourself, is this within my control? If not, let it go. If yes, what constructive action can I take? Managing anger this way not only spares you unnecessary stress, but also helps maintain harmony in your relationships. It encourages empathy, patience, and understanding, replacing impulsiveness with thoughtfulness. Remember, the key is not to avoid anger. It's to understand it, to manage it, and to channel it into something productive. This is the Stoic way. And as we navigate through the ups and downs of life, it's a method worth considering. Remember, it's not others' actions, but our reactions that fuel our anger. What about anxiety, the plague of modern times? Indeed, anxiety can feel like a heavy cloud that obscures the light of our peace and tranquility. But let's delve into how Stoic philosophy can guide us through the storm. Consider the example of being stuck in a traffic jam when you're already late for an important meeting. The heart races, the mind whirls with worry, and anxiety takes the reins. But what if we took a step back and invoked the wisdom of the Stoics? The Stoics believed in focusing on the present moment, a principle that can be a powerful antidote to anxiety. When we're anxious, we're often not truly present. We're either dwelling on past mistakes or fretting about future uncertainties. However, the Stoics remind us that the past is immutable and the future is beyond our direct control. What we do have control over is how we respond to the present moment. So in our traffic jam scenario, instead of succumbing to anxiety, we could choose to focus on the present. We could listen to an audiobook or a podcast, enjoy the music, or simply observe the world around us. We could use the time to mentally rehearse for the meeting or brainstorm new ideas. By focusing on the present, we can transform a situation that induces anxiety into an opportunity for growth and learning. Anxiety is often fueled by the unknown of the future, but the future is merely a succession of present moments. When we learn to navigate the present with equanimity and acceptance, we reduce the power that future uncertainties have over us. This doesn't mean that we should be complacent about the future. Rather, it encourages us to take constructive action in the present moment. The Stoics believed in doing what is within our power and accepting what is beyond it, a philosophy that can significantly reduce our anxiety. Remember, anxiety is not an invincible foe. With the wisdom of the Stoics, we can learn to manage it effectively. By staying focused on the present, we can reduce our anxiety about the future. Sadness is a part of life. But must we always suffer under its weight? This is a question that the Stoics grappled with, and their teachings offer some intriguing insights. Picture this scenario. You've just lost your job, a role that you've poured your heart and soul into for years. You're overwhelmed by a wave of sadness. It feels like a dark cloud is looming over you, casting a shadow on your future. This is a harsh reality many of us face. But how do the Stoics suggest we handle such a situation? The Stoics remind us that it's not the event itself causing our sadness, but our judgment of it. They'd argue that losing your job is not inherently good or bad. It's our interpretation of this event that fills us with sorrow. They would urge us to see this not as a loss, but as an opportunity for growth, a chance to explore new avenues and discover new strengths. This isn't to say that the Stoics were devoid of emotion. They too felt sadness, but they saw it as a chance to practice their principles. They understood that life is filled with ups and downs, and it is our response to these fluctuations that defines our character. In the face of sadness, the Stoics practiced acceptance. They acknowledged the emotion, understanding that it is a part of the human experience, but they didn't let it consume them. They saw it as a chance to exercise their virtue of resilience. Marcus Aurelius, a prominent Stoic philosopher, once said, "The obstacle in the path becomes the path." Never forget, within every obstacle is an opportunity to improve our condition. So, in our example, the sadness from job loss becomes a catalyst for change, a stepping stone towards a potentially fulfilling career switch, or the pursuit of a long-held passion. The Stoics teach us to view our sadness not as a burden, but as a tool for self-improvement. It's a reminder to reassess our values, to refocus on what truly matters, and to seek growth even in adversity. Even in sadness, the Stoics found a chance for self-improvement. So the next time you're swamped by sadness, remember, it's not a dead end. It's merely a detour, a redirection towards your path of personal growth. The Stoic mindset isn't about suppressing emotions, but about understanding and managing them. It's a common misconception that Stoics are emotionless, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Stoicism, in fact, champions emotional intelligence. It's not about denying feelings, but about acknowledging them, comprehending their origins, and managing their impact on our lives. The Stoic philosophy encourages us to take a step back, to scrutinize our feelings before reacting to them. This pause is crucial. It allows us to respond rather than react. In this space, we can assess the validity of our emotions, whether they're proportionate to the situation at hand, and how best to address them. This is the essence of emotional intelligence, the capacity to be aware of, control and express our emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. Misconceptions about Stoicism often stem from a misunderstanding of its core principles. Stoicism is not about emotional avoidance, but about emotional regulation. It's about achieving mental equanimity, a state of psychological stability and composure which is undisturbed by experience of or exposure to emotions, pain, or other phenomena that may cause others to lose the balance of their mind. The Stoic mindset promotes resilience. It teaches us to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. It encourages acceptance of what we can't change and action towards what we can. It's about understanding that our control lies not in external events, but in our reactions to them. In the face of adversity, the Stoic doesn't crumble, but stands firm, understanding that every hardship carries the seeds of a greater benefit. It's not about being unaffected, but about being sturdy in the face of life's inevitable ups and downs. Remember, Stoicism doesn't ask us to suppress or disregard our emotions. It encourages us to navigate them wisely, to harness them as tools for personal development, and to understand that we are not at the mercy of our emotions, but the master of them. Stoics don't avoid emotions, they navigate them wisely. So, how can we bring Stoicism into our everyday life? When we think about Stoicism, it's not merely philosophical musings. It's an actionable toolkit for navigating life with grace and resilience. Let's explore a few practical tips for incorporating Stoic principles into daily life. Firstly, embrace the serenity to accept what you cannot change. Life will toss curveballs, and not all of them can be dodged or hit. Instead of stewing in frustration or despair, accept these situations as they are. This doesn't mean passivity, rather it's about focusing your energy where it can make a difference. Secondly, practice mindfulness. Stoicism encourages us to live in the present. Worrying about the future or ruminating over the past distracts us from the here and now. Take a moment to be present, to be aware of your surroundings, your thoughts, your feelings. It's in the present that we truly live. Thirdly, cultivate gratitude. It's easy to take for granted the things we have until they're gone. Stoicism nudges us to appreciate the small and big things in our lives. A simple thank you to the universe, to someone, or to yourself can work wonders in shifting your perspective to a more positive one. Next, remember that you have control over your reactions. While we can't control every situation, we can control how we react to it. When faced with a challenging situation, take a deep breath and choose your response wisely. Lastly, make it a habit to reflect on your actions and emotions. At the end of the day, take a few quiet moments to think about your reactions, your choices, and your emotions. This introspection will help you understand yourself better and align your actions with your values. But remember, incorporating Stoicism into your life isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous practice, a process of learning, unlearning, and relearning. It's about tiny, consistent steps towards cultivating a Stoic mindset. It's important to keep in mind that Stoicism doesn't promise a life devoid of troubles, but it does offer tools to handle them with equanimity. So, take these tips, apply them, and observe the changes in your life. Stoicism is a practice, a journey towards emotional mastery. Let's recap what we've learned about Stoicism and emotional management. We embarked on this journey with the recognition of the challenge that our emotions present. We acknowledged their potency, their potential to shape our lives, and the difficulty we often face in managing them. We then introduced Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that offers a practical and potent lens through which to view our emotional landscape. Stoicism, we've discovered, doesn't advocate for emotional suppression, but rather for understanding and mastery. It's a guide to achieving a state of mental equanimity, where our emotions neither control us nor are they ignored. We dove into the specifics of how Stoicism helps manage some of the most difficult emotions we grapple with. Anger, that fiery, explosive sensation, can be cooled and calmed by the Stoic practice of viewing situations objectively, without letting personal bias fan the flames. Anxiety, the gnawing worry about the future, can be eased by the Stoic principle of focusing on the present moment, on what we can control, and letting go of what we cannot. It teaches us to embrace uncertainty, to find peace amid the chaos. Sadness, the heavy weight that pulls us down, can be lightened by the Stoic understanding that pain and loss are part of the human experience. Stoicism nudges us to accept, to learn, and to grow from our sadness, to let it shape us, not break us. We then explored the Stoic Mindset, a perspective that values reason and wisdom over emotional reactivity, and the practical application of Stoicism in our everyday lives. It's not about perfection, but about progress, about becoming better at managing our emotions one day at a time. And so we come to the end of our journey, but this is merely the beginning of yours. Stoicism is a lifelong practice, a road to emotional wisdom. Remember, emotions aren't your enemy. With Stoicism, they can become your greatest teachers. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Stoicism and emotional well-being. If you found these insights valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Embrace the Stoic mindset, and remember, a life of wisdom begins with mastering your emotions. Until next time, stay resilient and live a Stoic life.